Now, I'm going to come on to a very interesting person, J. Michael Waller. I did another interview with this man yesterday. He's a former CIA operative, and he's a counterinsurgency expert. He was talking about what has been going on in protests in America. And let's just have a listen to this little 2-minute clip, and then I'll explain more as to what was in the interview itself.
And then you had agents provocateurs within the crowd. So as in any good crowd, if you want to create a good impression and you're organized for it, you'll have people dispersed in a diamond-shaped pattern. So they look like they're normal and they're spontaneous, but they're all issuing the same chants. And then they get the rest of the crowd to issue the same slogans and chants. So I could detect that crowd pattern as well as agents provocateurs. But they weren't just saying, say, patriotic slogans or pro-Trump slogans. They were saying really militant, provocative slogans to get people all riled up. So you could tell that those were the provocateurs. And then they were trying to lead ordinary people up toward the Capitol to go in and break the law and commit acts of violence.
Right. So without putting words in your mouth, Mike, these 4 groups, what were they? Are they sort of accidental provocateurs? I have to use that expression, coming from smaller groups who are better organized and wanted to take control? Or do you think that the nature of the 4 groups you identified tends to suggest there was a bigger, more professional controlling power that was targeting that crowd as a whole?
It seemed at the time, but it especially seems so in retrospect, that there was a larger controlling power that had its own people pre-positioned, but also had others who it was able to exploit. For example, the Oath Keepers. In that article, I referred to a column of men dressed in tactical gear coming through in one single regimented march, and some of them had Punisher skull patches on them as a unit identifier. Those were the Oath Keepers. And I had heard that at the time from others in the crowd, but I didn't put the name in the article because I didn't want to be, since that's an organization, I didn't want to defame an organization unless I knew for a fact that it was the Oath Keepers. But indeed, looking back at it now, it was, and some of them were tried and convicted. So that's an organized conservative and right-wing militia type group. So it's a legal organization. But what we later found was that the Oath Keeper leadership were FBI informants. So in this case, you have the FBI had penetrated and compromised the leadership of this group that attacked the United States Capitol, knowing in advance that it would do so. And no attempt was made to stop them from doing so. And indeed, every attempt was made to ensure that they succeeded. Now, so the FBI could have shut this down in a moment had it wanted to. And for some reason, the decision was made not to do it. That leads to the question, why?
Exactly.
If you're going to infiltrate a violent group,
yeah.
Pardon?
Well, exactly. That is the key question. So we're asking the question, why? What's your answer to who and why?
I don't know why. I have opinions about why, but really, why would the FBI do this?
So, Michael Waller, getting into the detail there of manipulation of the Capitol riots in America in 2021, all around, obviously, Trump at the time. But what he's talking about is government agencies, including the security agencies, manipulating the protest in order to turn it violent and also to entrap people into committing crimes that they wouldn't automatically do. Are the same policies being used here in UK? In my mind, absolutely yes. And we need to watch out for what's happening. But he was also warning about the what he calls the DEI agenda in the security services in America. If we can just pop this slide up on screen, please. And so what is he talking about here? That failures of the security services and the FBI itself as a result of essentially woke agendas being put in place, and the current acting head of the agency at the moment having to defend the agency against criticism that it's been this new agenda which has actually undermined the ability of the departments to function and indeed protect Trump at the rally. This is just pop this next one on screen. This is just an image from an article that Michael Waller wrote about what happened at the Capitol Hill attack, and also he's been giving lections about the political weaponization of the CIA. This is happening in America. It's happening in UK as well. And I'm going to say that the full interview talking about essentially the subversion of our Western democratic states and the security services. This interview will go out next Tuesday at 1 p.m. And the key topics there are Trump assassination attempt, DEI in the secret services, and more detail about the manipulation of the Capitol riots in 2021. So oppressive forces acting in America, Charles,